Travis Mangudzo. As a scientist, we look for patterns, and when we uncover an anomaly, we develop a theory that must be able to be tested immediately to explain the anomaly and be able to replicate it in order to confirm it. If we can't confirm it, we can't replicate it, we have to dismiss the theory. We have to develop another theory to try to explain the anomaly. And so, way back in the day, I'm thinking 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. Maybe after I got married. So 2016. And Edwin Goebel, or Ed Goebel, as he went by with me, had reached out to me as he had discovered my publications and videos on YouTube that he believed were of particular interest in Mormon studies. And we formed a little club, and I was the default president. And we had other guys in the club who were trying to likewise be scientific minded. And we wanted to be a contrary version, a scientific version of Mormon apologetics that are anti-science. The apologetics use fallacy arguments to defend the church. We wanted to use science to defend the church. And the group fell apart as the lack of money and the inability to promote ourselves, as well as Ed also was approached by the apologetic group to turn to the dark side. They promised him to publish his article and to join their club. We few, we merry band of few. If he would, give up some of his other scientific pursuits. And so he caved because he wanted the popularity for his work. So it wasn't about the science, man. And so I get academia pop-ups on my email from him with any new stuff that he's doing or some of his old stuff, and I don't know how to get rid of them. But his latest one that came up today is Eridu instead of Ararat. He's trying to apologize for Ararat not being the location of the Noah's Ark. And he's wrong. Can't do that. That's what's called a fallacy argument, and it needs to be dismissed, and he needs to figure out something else. But he turned to the dark side. In order to be popular, he has to use fallacy arguments now. He can't use science. And so it's sad. But if you've done any research into my work, you'd know that Ararat is a Latter-day symbol. We read in Matthew 24 about the latter days that so in the days of Noah it will be like in the latter days. So we learn from Matthew that the story in Genesis about the flood is prophecy of the latter days. It's symbolism. It's type and shadow. It is not literal history. And so, again, Ed's little thesis here needs to be dismissed. Can't use it. And I'm going to check Blue Letter Bible here. Hold on, because I'm just curious. 8:5. I recommend Blue Letter Bible for your study because it has all the different translations so that you can get out of the King James Version. And it also has the Greek and the Hebrew. But you may not know those. But it does have better translations than the King James Version. And then, yeah, it does link you to the Strong's Concordance of the Bible, but again, I don't recommend it. 8:4? Really? Thought it was 8:5. No, it's 8:4. Okay. So we'll go to Westminster Leningrad Codex. And light, rat. Interesting. Huh. That is very interesting. It's made up of two words in Hebrew. And so, Babel, where the origin of the of Chaldees. So we see here, light, and thus where Abraham would have come from, as the Genesis account sort of alludes to that. But the rat part is interesting. The R in Paleo Hebrew is the God symbol from the Egyptian characters. It's the flag, which represents God. And so in Hebrew, Canaanite Hebrew, El is God. And so in Egyptian, the equivalent is the flag symbol, which is an R sound, and Rho in Greek. And so the Chi-Rho of Constantine, yeah, he was giving us the location of the latter days with the symbol of the Messiah coming in the latter days. And then you have the T, which is not the Tau, it's the other T. And in Paleo Hebrew, it is the circle with the cross. And I've already explained that that has to do with got foreign country on my mind. It's from facsimile number 2. I just did that video. But it's the X marks the spot. Village, that's right. Man, I don't memorize, so I need reference books. And I need it immediately when I'm doing a video. And so it's the god of the village of the sun. Heliopolis, the universal symbol of the sun. Zion, light of Zion. And so it's talking about the latter-day Zion in the Genesis account. And so, sorry, Ed, I just trumped you on your own project, and I did it in a couple of minutes. And so, yeah, in Egyptian, it's the Ogdod story, the Heliopolis, or not the Heliopolis, the Ogdod creation story. And I don't call them a myth because they're all prophetic about the latter days. They're not intended to be teaching documents that have no basis in reality. That's what myth sort of alludes to. No, this is an actual prophetic document that is telling us information about the latter days. And in this particular case, that symbol in Egyptian is telling us the location of Zion in the latter days. That Egyptian symbol source telling us where Zion is to be located. And it's the same Zion location that Joseph Smith knew of and told us of. And Brigham Young refused to publish it in the Doctrine and Covenants. And we're told that the documents of Joseph Smith that didn't make it into our Doctrine and Covenants were not approved by the Quorum of the 12 for publication. What? Exactly. Brigham Young didn't approve of it. And so that means it's not true? What? Oh my God. And so, Southern Illinois. X marks the spot. Where did the first solar eclipse over the United States occur? Yeah, 21st of August 2017. And then the second one, 8 April 24. It's actually the third. The second one is on the 14th of October this year, after the day that shall burn as an oven. And it splits Utah in half. It's going over Utah. This one, going over Utah. God has a sense of humor. And he's mocking Mormons. Because 21st of August 2017 was over Independence and Adam-on-Diamond. The one on 8 April 2024, 2017 for 21st of August. Am I mixing up dates? You guys are supposed to correct me. 8 April 2024 goes over Kirtland, Ohio, and the farm, the Joseph Smith farm in Manchester. And so the second day of darkness, of 3 days of darkness, hours and gospel stories that are apocalyptic literature usurped by Christians, culturally appropriated. It's going right over Utah, dividing it in half. St. George and Salt Lake City, Logan. Splitting it. This is not a coincidence. And so when they refer to Judah in scriptures, and you know that it has to do with the latter days, and so you're now looking for a land of Judah, because it's not a J in Hebrew. That's a European corruption of the phonetics. It's Judah. Doesn't it sound an awful lot like Utah? Yes, because they're phonetically the same. The D and the T are the same phonetics. Spell past. Do you spell it P-A-S-T or P-A-S-S-E-D? Now, if you use the British accent, it would be passed. Problem solved. But in America, we've made them sound phonetically the same. The T and the D are phonetically the same. And so King Tut, King David, phonetically the same. The Tawut-Mose dynasty of the 18th dynasty, it's the David-Moses dynasty. And yet Jews refuse to accept that they're from Egypt. They want to be from their slave owners from the Babylonian captivity, of Babylon. And so I really need to change my eyes. I got the paper towels now, so I just need to do it. I was supposed to go running this morning to veer off course, talk about my life, but I ended up sleeping for 8 hours, and so I ruined my whole attempt to go on my first day of running after 9 months. But there's some other things with this. There's the mound in Egyptian, which is in both creation stories, the Heliopolis and the Ogdod creation stories. And so this is the Ogdod version, where it has Amen, who represents Shem, the name. That's who Shem is. Shem is the name. It's the hidden name. Hidden name is Amen, the Egyptian god, at noonday. And so in the Ogdod story, he's called Amen. In the Noah account in Hebrew, they call him the name, because they can't say the name because of the sacredness of it. So section 107 in the Doctrine and Covenants, to avoid the too frequent repetition of the name Amen, they changed it to Melchizedek, which I've gone over with you as king and high priest. Melech Zadok. King, Melech, Zadok, high priest. And in Paleo-Hebrew, Amen is the universal symbol of the sun, the circle, and then the M, which is the high priest symbol, waters, and the J stroke for a human. I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. I know what I'm talking about here. Look for patterns, identify anomalies, do a theory test to replicate. I've done this. I just did it here with you for Ararat. This is how you do it. And so, and then the N is a suffix determinative, as well as it is the Egyptian character for crown, for king, or kingdom for a place. And so the name Amen from Emmanuel of Isaiah is not only a transliteration from the Egyptian, it is also telling us it is Melchizedek. That's the name when you break it down. King and high priest, Melchizedek. And so Joseph was correct on that one too. Who was saying Joseph Smith isn't a translator? Oh, right, the Church of Jesus Christ of Brigham Young. And so there's something else that I discovered instantly upon referring to this Genesis 8 verse 4 version. Oh look, my alarm's going off. I did find my clocks. One of them is working, and that must be the one that's beeping. Maybe. No, it's another one. Huh. That's strange. Yeah, I will have to set up my clocks and reprogram them, and one of them's out of batteries. So when I get the bed into position, you'll no longer see the bedding in the background. Still got a ways to go here. But it says that the ark, which in Egyptian is the mound of the primordial mound. And I've gone over this with the Heliopolis creation glyph that represents the Messiah, who is born of woman, born out of the waters. The waters divide and comes out on dry land. That's what it's referring to here in the same retelling of that creation glyph. And it's interpreted multiple ways. It's not only creation of heaven and earth, it's the Nile inundation every year, and it's the afterlife with the field of reeds, and it's about human birth, as well as the prophesied Messiah in the latter days. And they're giving us his birth date. I couldn't believe it. This is awesome. The ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month. Awesome. Again, further confirmation. Identify patterns, find anomalies, develop a theory test to explain the anomalies. That's his birth date that I've been telling you this whole time. March 17th. It's just awesome. And so, yes, the 7th month in 1970 was in a leap year for the Jews. So it was Adar 2, which, when you go back into 69, the first year, the new year, in the September month, becomes the 7th month for March 17th. It's just unbelievable. Everybody knew. And so thus St. Patrick's Day was specifically designed by the ancestors of this Messiah because they are the hidden name. They would never reveal that they were in name called sun gods. It wasn't until the 1500s when they were required to give their surname, sun god. And so they were the ones who developed the prophecy of St. Patrick, because he didn't chase the snakes out of Ireland. They were already gone from Ireland. They were purposely telling us that St. Patrick is a type and shadow symbolism of their descendant, the sun god Emmanuel, who would be the Christ of the future. And so instead of his birth date, the Messiah's birth date would be on the 17th, but it's about his death date, which is the death sign on 8 April 2024. They were trying to teach us with the creation of the prophecy of St. Patrick on St. Paddy's Day. And there it is in the Bible, prophesied, the date, March 17th. And so Joseph Smith knew it. That's why he gave women the priesthood and priesthood office on March 17th, 1842. It's in the Joseph Smith papers. Sorry, it's no longer a myth. It's now confirmed. Brigham Young refused to publish it so that he could justify taking away priesthood and priesthood office from women. And yet the church still fools us into thinking that, oh yeah, we're the ones with Relief Society. Yeah, the church had ulterior motives. And man, this is really bugging me now. And then when Brigham Young wrongfully excommunicated Thomas B. Marsh with a coup of the leadership. The Danites had caused the election fraud that started the Mormon War that got Joseph in trouble for their actions with the extermination order from Governor Boggs, and Joseph Smith ended up in Liberty Jail. And while he was in Liberty Jail, the Danites chased out as many of the leaders as they could, and Thomas B. Marsh was one of them, and Brigham Young therefore exalted himself to become the president of the Quorum of the 12. And once he became the president of the Quorum of the 12, he sent a letter to Thomas B. Marsh saying, you need to appear before us for excommunication proceedings on the 17th of March, 1839. Joseph Smith is still in Liberty Jail. So that whole wife with milk scrapings, that was all a lie, because they claim Joseph Smith approved of the excommunication. It went all the way up to Joseph Smith, and Joseph Smith sided with the priesthood. No, he was in Liberty Jail. You gotta fact check these people. They lie. Brigham Young and his Danites lie. And so, yeah, Brigham Young had no authority to excommunicate. You don't do it within your party, your quorum. The High Council does the excommunications. And they refused to tell us the truth on that. And so Brigham Young falsely accused him falsely excommunicated him. And now we go to Deuteronomy 19 for the law of Moses regarding what do you do with false accusers. Starting in verse 16. If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, both men between whom the controversy is shall stand before the Lord, before the priests and the judges, which shall be in those days. And so in this particular case, it's with God. God is the judge here. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition, and behold, if the witness be a false witness, and hath testified falsely against his brother. Brigham Young did that. Testified falsely against Thomas B. Marsh. The Danites were the ones that chased him out, threatened him. Brigham Young established the date for the excommunication of the 17th of March. Okay? Then shall ye do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shalt thou put the evil away from among you. And so, according to Deuteronomic law, Brigham Young usurping the quorum of the 12. And the president, according to Brigham Young, is to ascend to the first presidency. So, because he's a false accuser, it now gets turned on Brigham Young. The true Messiah of the latter days is supposed to be born on the 17th of March and is to become the first president. Do you see how this works? And then you can go to Numbers, chapter 12, for how he's also supposed to be chosen in the latter days. Miriam and Aaron are trying to usurp Moses, take over his church. And so the Lord comes and says in verse 6, Hear now my words, read my lips. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a first vision. I worded that differently so that you would understand what Joseph Smith's visions were. And will speak unto him in a dream. So now are you catching on to who your Christ is in the latter days, Mormons? Do you know who he is? I've been giving you hints. I know who it is. I've been searching for him. I was a Mormon. I was told about all this stuff. I did the research. I found the answers. I didn't live in my little spiritual witness bubble. I used science. And I found the truth. And we're not Christian. We're Jewish. So we're not looking for somebody supernatural. We're looking for a human. And Joseph says he's Mormon. Section 103, verse 16. Man like Moses. Deuteronomy 18 from the Joseph Smith Visions, verse 40. That man, that prophet, is Christ. And he's a Mormon in the latter days. So you see how you get the wrong thing, you don't learn anything. You don't find out the truth, Ed. You get the right thing, right theory, you confirm it, you got facts, you've got the truth, you've got knowledge, and it expands. As you can see, I've been able to expand on it. So, sorry, Ed. You shouldn't have abandoned us.